This is Boadu TV. Truth and integrity.
Hi Boadu TV. Na mayentinsi mu ewo Paul Adumotre last week ye che no. Eti Thursday wentimi anye show. O Paul beba ye hu ye na de asan wentimi anye. Friday eno mugya no. Na finally wabe show abekre de course oye nu sinchi akotia bato by election at the enim. Na before by election NDC for your primaries eyi candidate emuntokwa enya saketo Paul Abuewrem. Yes. Koko ehun prices ayatum Paul Adumotre asamba biemo brade edin bi a wasan bobo Paul Adumotre yenkotie no.
The day when Paul Adumotre leaves to become Speaker of Parliament. Good evening, Ghana will continue. You can tell that already Apreku can do it. So when I become Speaker of Parliament and I sit in the chair, the Speaker's chair, and I am telling honorable members to give their statement and stop casting insinuations, Apreku will be able to hold the fort. So last Thursday I wasn't here, and because I had been detained by the Office of the Special Prosecutor on account of the fact that I could not satisfy the bail conditions, which were to deliver 2 houses in your own name, landed property in your own name. I'll deal with that in a minute. Black Rasta, good evening. This evening I've been explaining the circumstance to him. We had a long conversation. You know, he's a good friend of mine, Black Rasta. I really respect him. And he wanted to find out what was it about. And so many people get the impression that I was asked that you are going to be granted bail. Do you have landed property? And I said, no, I don't have landed property. No, that's not what happened. What happened, as I explained in the television program, is that a form is given to you to fail to disclose personal information. And so you disclose all your personal information. So that goes into the office and they know about it. So between the time you fill the form and the time they are discussing bail conditions, it's quite some time. It could be an hour, it could be 2 hours, because you fill the form very quickly when you get there. So the question on the form is, do you have landed property in your own name? And the answer certainly is no. It is still no. It will be no until I get landed property in my name. I think some people were very, very angry with that. And I have one lawyer has said so many things about how he knows I have X number of houses in Accra. I have asked him that in 2 weeks' time he should please produce those things, and we'll deal with it. So that was really the crux of the matter. It wasn't as if I was asked a question, okay, you can go home but bring 2 property, and I said I don't have. No, they already knew by the time they were telling me that I don't have, because I already filled the form in which they wanted to know which banks I have money in. I mentioned the banks, what cars I use and what car I have. I had mentioned it. My personal name, I had mentioned it. My house address, I had mentioned it. And then there was a question, do you have landed property in your name? And the answer certainly is no. It doesn't mean I don't have a place to live, but I don't have landed property written in my name that this is Paul Adumotre's property. And that can come about as a result of many things. And I told Bernard Avle that yesterday. Tonight, I'll show you that interview with Bernard Avle, and then we can deal with it. As for the matters being discussed, we'll get there. Good evening again. Welcome. We'll get back to the story. But let me do my first story first. I'm very passionate about journalism and how journalists are treated. Last Thursday, just before I had my problems with the OSP and went into detention, I saw a police officer who threatened a journalist, a Joy FM journalist, and also whipped the guy he was interviewing. This had to be, this occurred during the brouhaha surrounding the collapse of some building that belongs to businessman McDan Shipping. And then McDan had the quarrel with the state institution, and apparently it was directed that his building be pulled down in circumstances that some people thought could have been better. But anyway, they pulled down the building. Whilst they were doing so, it attracted media attention because, of course, McDan is a local businessman. He's a seasoned businessman. He's been around for a long time. And McDan has been very vocal. In fact, this week, he won the Entrepreneur of the Year or something like that. And he has many, many sides to himself. And he's cross-branded with salt, with shipping, and all of that. So McDan is quite well known within the media fraternity. So when news broke that McDan's buildings were being collapsed as a result of some ownership challenges of the land with the state institution, media went there and they go and talk about it. They will tell you that they will arrest you and they will catch you and they will trump up charges against you when you have done nothing because you are speaking about these things. What else can we do? We have to speak about it. Now, I'm going to present some analysis about this video right here for viewers to see why it is very, very concerning. So these are the three people. I hope everyone can see. Producer, can people see it? I think they can. These are, maybe you can put that photograph on the TV so they can see it without having me in the middle, so it doesn't disturb them. These are three people in the video, the three important people here: the military man, the reporter from Joy FM, and then the eyewitness. Okay, very good. I like this. So viewers, let's have a look at this critically. If you look at the military man, so three people: military man, reporter, and the eyewitness. If you look at the military man, he's wearing a hat, he's wearing some goggles, he's wearing his military fatigue gear, camouflage they call it. Now, everything this military man is wearing was paid for by the Joy FM guy standing next to him, the eyewitness standing next to him, myself and yourself. Anytime you go to do VAT, yeah? Anytime you go to do VAT, you are paying for the military man's uniform. So this military man's uniform is paid for by this guy, that guy, you the viewer, me, the people in the studio, all of us who do VAT. We are paying for this. So the apparel that he's wearing is paid for by the taxpayer. The whip that he's holding, if it's an official whip that they use in the training of horses at the Recce regiment and all that, is paid for by the taxpayer. Now, the person whose money is paying for it, he takes the whip and he whips him. In 2025, in Ghana, 32 years of constitutional democracy, he whips him. This is military. Ghana Armed Forces. This is the same military that is not allowed to participate in election. The same military that is in Burma camp and is only called upon for reinforcement. They are enforcing border security and all that. The police can do everything. Military cannot do election. But military can come and supervise demolition. My goodness, have you heard that before? Military cannot come into election. Where in election, there's so much volatility. When we are going into election, they even have what they call flash points. That started in 2000 election. I was in that first press conference where the CDD developed these things. They have flash points when we are going into election. And going into election that has potential threat of violence, potential threat of tempest rising because of what election is and how human beings are, we say to ourselves that we don't need the military, which is the superior force in an election, but we use the military to protect demolition of a building based on a court order or not based on a court order. That one, the military has to come in. When the military comes in, what this guy did is to whip the guy with everything that the taxpayer. This is cruel, very, very cruel. And it looks like it's setting us back. It looks like it's setting us back. This is not the democracy. This is very far from that. I was concerned that the voices, I was looking through the social media at the weekend to see how many people and the extent of concern about this. I didn't find what I was looking for. Maybe I was looking too hard. Maybe I'm personalizing it. But I didn't find what I was looking for the kind of outrage that should meet this kind of thing. I didn't get it. I saw Joy FM seem to be a lone ranger. They were talking about it. But somehow, even them, at some point, they didn't talk about it. It didn't make its way to news file. I didn't hear it. Maybe it did. I didn't hear it. But this is a major issue because if things like this are not stopped, then we have a real problem. Whether it happened 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 16 years ago, this happened glaringly upon 32 years of democracy. It's a problem. But that's not where the matter ends. The government issued a quick statement. And we would like to look at the government statement that was very quickly issued. So this is the government statement. So the government statement said, government condemns the attempted arrest of a Joy News reporter and the assault of an eyewitness by a soldier at a demolition site. Such actions are utterly unacceptable to the John Mahama administration and have no place in our democratic society. I am directed by President John Dramani Mahama to unequivocally reaffirm his unwavering commitment to the freedom and safety of journalists. A free and unfettered press is a cornerstone of our democracy, essential for accountability, transparency, and informed public discourse. Government also reiterates our commitment to ensuring the safety and security of all Ghanaian citizens whose rights must always be protected. Rights always protected. Government has accordingly directed the Minister for Defense and the National Security Coordinator to investigate the incident and ensure that the appropriate punishment is immediately imposed. Appropriate disciplinary and punitive measures must be applied without delay to ensure accountability and prevent future occurrence. And the statement is signed by government spokesperson Felix Kwachio Fosu. Okay, whilst that is a fair statement, this is where I have a problem. Because just weeks before that, Defense Minister Dr. Omane Boama told the press that he was not an immigration officer to be chasing Ansan Sadeli when he comes. So when Ansan Sadeli comes, he's not an immigration officer. He cannot be chasing people who have a bench warrant on them, who are coming to get the Supreme Court to remove the bench warrant. That's not his concern. He said that. Okay, fair enough. This one is his concern. This very one is his concern. And we haven't heard from him. In spite of the government statements where he's been apparently directed, we haven't heard from him. When it was about Ansan Sadeli, he spoke in the accountability series and spoke. Now, let me tell you what is also concerning about this government statement. And Felix Kwachiofosu's photograph is here for that purpose. That's Omane Boama talking about. I take it off. Let's come back to the studio. He was smiling gleefully and saying, I'm not an immigration officer. Today, your soldiers are beating people up. They are beating people up, and all the government can tell us is a statement that was issued. Let's get to the government statement again. Now, I've been looking at all such events in especially the United Kingdom and looked at the way the statements are written. Okay. What would have been satisfactory for the government statements is that when military people go on these exercises, the bosses know who is where. So they may have gone as one platoon, as we learned, which is 30 men and one officer. Or they must have gone at 2 platoons, which will be 60 men. 60 will be too much for this. Or they may have gone as one section, which is 1/3 of a platoon, which is led by, I think, a sergeant or something like that. So in the statements I've seen written, the government usually comes out to say that government has taken notice of this video, blah, blah, blah. The officer in charge is Sergeant so and so. The officer in the video, they name him. If you look at, go to BBC and see, they name them all the time. They name the rogue actors. They name them. And that brings some satisfaction to the general public. That the office, because they actually know the name of the officer in charge. This statement here that President Mahama has directed the investigation upon the Minister of Defense and the National Security, it's okay, but it could have been better. Because they know who did it. Everyone knows. You remember the famous Colonel Ajeman in the Caleb Kuda of City TV case. When Caleb Kuda was found himself at National Security Council, and as a journalist, he tried to video a few things, and it was thought that he had been filming where he shouldn't be filming and all of that. Some Colonel Ajeman's name popped up within the investigations very quickly. Now here, the government should be telling us that the officer in charge is this person, officer so-and-so, sergeant so-and-so, corporal so-and-so. He enlisted in the Ghana Armed Forces in 2001 or 2014. He was posted to the Recce Regiment so-and-so. He currently works on secondments with the National Security. The President and the Minister for Defense have directed the military processes to occur. And the minister has asked the military processes to be quickened because there's video evidence so that the punishment can be meted out to him. Government would assure us, therefore, in the statement that whatever punishment that is due such an individual will be clearly meted out to him because President Mahama does not condone these kinds of things. Coming to give us a statement which appears vague, says that the government condemns the attempt arrest of a Joy News reporter and the assault of... It's like you come to my house, and sometimes I have macho men with me, and then there's a problem and one of the macho men knocks somebody down, and the macho men are in my house. I have control over them. And then I come and say that I unreservedly condemn the action of that macho man who... I just have to ask the macho man boss and say, who did it? And they will say that, oh, it's a Kobna Mensah who did it. Then I have to come and say that we have identified the person. It's Kobna Mensah. He's so and so and so and so. He's that. That's what should happen. What about the victim? The victim, the one who was whipped. What has happened to him? Has there been any overtures to him? That also didn't show up in the statement. And I think that is very bad. Because it looks like when people are ordinary, they are nobodies, we treat them anyhow. If the whip had whipped somebody who is significant, somebody who is important, somebody is a member of parliament, somebody, if he had touched the journalist or something, there would have been overtures. Felix Kwachiofosu would have gone to pay a visit to him. What is happening to that victim? The victim who was just walking around and volunteered information to Joy FM, whipped, brutally beaten on the floor. No, the government statement didn't say that it has been directed that the victim has been identified and he has been taken to a medical facility so that the injuries that he occurred have been looked at and blah, 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 blah. Nobody has said anything about it. So the victim is okay, he's good, they're beating him, it's fine. I mean, how do we manage a country like that? Is it because of politics? Is that how we manage a country? The guy was whipped. He was beaten on the floor. Government statement said the guy will be disciplined. They don't tell us who he is. What about the victim? The victim, what happens to him? He's a nobody. He has no father. His father is not significant. His mother is not significant. His father is not a leading member of the MPP. His mother is not a leading member of the NDC. His mother is not a member of parliament. His father is not a member of parliament. So they beat him with a military whip. They kick him on the ground. Government issues a statement. We all go to bed as if he's not Ghanaian. What kind of Ghana are we building? He's an eyewitness. They don't even know his name. I don't even think Joy FM asked him his name. He has Ghana card. What are we doing about the victim? This is where the Minister for Defense should come in. Dr. Mane Boama, I'm calling on you. You're a Christian. You're a Catholic priest. Do you think it is good for a Ghanaian to be whipped like that and booted on the ground, and the government statement just says that the military man will be disciplined? Dr. Mane Boama, is it fair? Is it fair? And Nitiwo used to be Minister of Defense. Now you are Minister of Defense. Is it fair that the victim, nobody talks about it? Even those of us journalists comment, nobody talks about the victim. Because you look at the guy and you look at him and you think that he looks very ordinary. But God doesn't like that. The most vulnerable people in society are the people who deserve the biggest protection. That's why those societies are better than ours. That's why England is better than ours. That's why the Americans are mostly better. You saw when George Floyd, the matter happened, the focus was on the victim. The punishment is important, but the victim, what happens to the victim? You saw President Joe Biden go to the home of the victim, to the children, kneel down and beg them. This guy is Ghanaian. Even if he's not Ghanaian, he lives in Ghana and works in Ghana. He deserves the best of treatment. Something happened, it may be an accident, whatever, he was whipped. But how do we recompense that person? Government has hospital facilities. Who is thinking about, has he been to hospital to look at it? Is that how we work in Ghana? Is this what we are doing in Ghana these days? And when you go and talk about it, you will see, if they won't arrest you, they will ask OPP to come and arrest you. They will tell OPP, go and catch him. He's talking too much. He's a foolish boy. Who does he think he is? Because you are saying these things. Now, how can you look at these things as a journalist and not say anything about it? And when you say these things consistently, they will come and catch you. So that nobody talks. Nobody should talk. Mane Boama, Christian, Catholic priest, saw somebody being whipped, booted on the ground. Government issues a statement. He doesn't even say anything on his Facebook page. He doesn't come to the Facebook and say that, I saw the video, I'm completely overwhelmed. This should never happen in the Ghana Armed Forces. I associate myself with a statement signed by Felix Kwachio Fosu, and I have sent my soldiers to go and look for the victim. He didn't say that. Today is what, Tuesday? This was Thursday. We have still not heard anything about the person who carried a whip and whipped the guy. The whip, paid for by the taxpayer. His military apparel, paid for by the taxpayer. His hat, paid for by the taxpayer. Everything is wearing, paid for by the taxpayer. That little boy that he caned, before then he had to go and buy something and paid VAT. He has contributed to the apparel that the military is wearing. But here we are, whipping them, beating them, and pushing them away because he came to watch. He happened to be there when McDonald's building was collapsing. He's not a staff of McDonald's. He's not a supporter of McDonald's. He's not against what government was doing. He doesn't even know anything about it. He doesn't know whether there is court order. All of those things don't form part of his daily context. He's just earning a livelihood. He's earning his livelihood. That's all he's doing. And then you take a cane and go and whip him, beat him up, put him on the ground. Show the video for the last time and let's see what viewers are thinking. Show the video for the last time.
What are you doing here? He's an eyewitness. What's happening? What are you doing here? He's an eyewitness. What's happening? What are you doing here? He's an eyewitness. What's happening? What are you doing here? He's an eyewitness.
It's not good. It's not good. Anziba, what are people saying?
Thank you very much, Paul. From Prince Edward Opari, he says, that soldier must be dealt with severely, and the public must be made to witness it so as to serve as a deterrent to others like him. Lastly, from Peter Wilson, he says, politicians, always preaching virtue and practicing vice. They pulled off the military from election centers, but rather allowed military members to beat innocent citizens around demolished sites whose presence has no harm or threat. No leaders' names were mentioned. Over to you, Adesi.
Thank you very much, Angela. Alors, de NS Boating, j'aime trop les Français. Sugar Free and Short dit, Paul, nous sommes trop contents de votre retour. Amisco Spili Kaswa, Paul le Mosala du média, nous vous aimons trop. De Mohamed Macha, Monsieur Paul est le plus important, le Seigneur est votre témoin. Tissia Alassane, notre prière vous accompagne, vous et votre famille, Paul. Aussi, Samuel Kweku Alote Papo dit tellement faux. Nourouz Hassan, le meilleur animateur de télévision, est de retour. Prince Casimiro Opoku dit Paul, vous faites le travail de Dieu, continuez comme ça. Over to you, Fatih.
Right, thank you. So coming from Emmanuel, he says this so-called reset they told us about, very shameful. How do you inflict pains on a citizen that you need to protect? Very uncalled behavior by the NDC government. Dashtinkon says it's only the uniform. If not like this, the guy would have dealt with this man called a soldier. Chief Manasseh says, Mahama's government is hiding behind the security services to boldly put the image of our country into the mud. And some of these brutalities against innocent citizens can be expected under this lawless government. The change we voted is really a problem to our democracy. Henry says, on what grounds does this military man beat up a citizen, an eyewitness? Wow. Samuel Kweku says, this innocent man poses no threat. He has no weapon. He didn't deserve that. And is he even doing okay? And lastly, coming from Kofi Owusu-Mensah, he says, it was Nanado that your colleagues in the media disliked, which made them very vocal at the time. Now that their preferred government is in power, we hardly hear any criticism from them. This current administration is seen as a media government, as they have appointed many well-known journalists. Even those who did not receive appointments are benefiting significantly. Now back to you, Paul.
So people want to hear more about the OSP story, and we'll be saying that in a bit. Let's go to Akwitia by-election and then check out what is happening in the Akwitia by-election. We'll come to our own matters very soon. There's Cocoa Board also coming up. Bernard Boadu, NDC Akwitia Constituency Secretary, elected. Oh, he's a constituency secretary, and he was a lawyer for the candidate, elected NDC parliamentary candidate for the upcoming elections. The results of the elections are interesting. Yes, they're going to put that here. So at the end of the process, when the NDC was picking their candidate, it's an interesting story. I mean, it's an interesting story. I don't know whether you want to call it betrayal. I'm not sure how to call it, because the story is that, what do you call it? The candidate, the one who was on the ballot for 2024, his name is Erasmus Kone Ali. And he was on the ballot for 2024. So he was a NDC's parliamentary candidate. They call them PC. And Mr. Bernard Boadu, who actually was elected, won the election, is the constituency secretary. Constituency have secretary. Every constituency has a secretary. He's one of the executives. So he's a constituency secretary. Most likely, the Erasmus Kone was helped by the constituency secretary to win the nomination to become the NDC's parliamentary candidate. So after the election, which was won by the late MPP candidate, the Honorable Kumi, Mr. Bernard Boadu made some court efforts to sort of get the matter overturned. After here and there and here and all of that, it appears the final decision was handed down by the Supreme Court in favor of Kumi. So he was okay, isn't it? All right. Now, the NDC decided to, because Mr. Kumi unfortunately passed, under the Constitution, a by-election is immediately occasioned. And so the NDC is going to select a candidate. MPP had selected a candidate already unanimously. Congratulations to Justin Kodia and Abia, the executive. They didn't need to go through the rancor the divisionism of political primaries, parliamentary primaries. They didn't need that. They managed to solve their problem themselves. They managed to look into themselves and decide what they were going to do, and then they have a candidate. The NDC, though, I'm sure in expression of democratic credentials, decided to go to the ballots to choose. Now, it became very interesting when the candidates emerged for the choice. The lawyer, and who's also constituency secretary, refused to back Erasmus Kone Ali, a man he had been backing throughout the 2024 elections. He refused to back him and decided to throw himself into it. Okay, at the end of the day, Bernard Bediako Boadu, the lawyer, was elected by 380 votes. Very interesting. Erasmus Kone Ali was elected by 366 votes. Henry Domboache, no, Erasmus was not elected. Sorry, he got 366 votes. Henry Domboache got 226 votes. Now, if you add 366 to 226, you will see that Erasmus Kone Ali and Yadom Boache got more votes together than Bernard Boadu. But the parliamentary election is held the first past the post. So we live to discuss the story another day. It's very, very interesting. And it's also very, very crucial. What's going to happen in the Akwetia by-election? I understand that my friend Musa Dankwa has some polls out. I'm here to look at it, and I'll look at it in great detail. And maybe we'll make a trip to Akwetia as Good Evening Ghana, and then if it's safe, if we are not going to be beaten up and arrested, and they are not going to ask us we are talking to eyewitness, and they'll come and beat them up and all of that, and nobody will care about them. If that will not happen, hopefully we can go to Akwetia and bring you some information from there. I've not been to Akwetia in a very, very long time. The last time I went to Akwetia was when one of my sisters was studying at St. Rosie's, and went there a very long time ago. So I'm happy to go to Akwetia again and see what's happening. But so long as we are not going to be arrested, beaten up, and all of things like that. Anyway, all right. So we wish all of them well. We wish Bernard Bediako Boadu well. We wish the MPP candidates well for the Akwetia by-election. Hallelujah. It's the top of the hour, 11 o'clock. So, Honorable Edu, they said this video is MPP orchestrated, but we'll get into the details and find out. How much did the MPP government pay the individual cocoa farmer who has one sack of cocoa? How much did you buy that sack for?
Paul, good evening, and good evening to your viewers. It's very sad watching the video, and I can say that this is not an NPP orchestrated video, because I've seen a couple of videos like this on social media, and I've even personally received calls from various, I come from a cocoa village, and my whole family deals in cocoa as a business. So from my grandparents' side, my mother's side, my father's side, they all do cocoa. So I've received a lot of calls, and there's a massive disappointment. People are disappointed because when the MPP government was leaving power, we left cocoa, a bag of cocoa at 3,100 cedis per bag.
That's how you buy it from the farmer.
Yes, 3,100.
3,100. So the farmer cultivates his cocoa.
Yes.
He knows that government will buy it.
Yes.
So he harvests the cocoa and puts in sacks.
Yes.
And then he has a sack sitting there.
Government gives them the sacks.
Oh, the government gives them the sacks to put the cocoa in.
Yes.
So he has his laborers.
Yes.
And then for every sack, you give him 31 million.
Yes, 31 million. So 3,100.
Okay. NDC is giving them how much as are they? So do you change the price every year? Is that a culture?
So what happens is different countries and their pricing mechanisms. In Ivory Coast, when the price goes down, they reduce the price. When the price goes up, they increase the price.
On the international price?
Yes.
But is the international price in bags? Is that how the international
it's in
price?
tons.
How many bags make a ton?
16 bags.
16 bags make 1 ton.
1 ton.
So the international price, what should we do with this?
So there's the 2021-2022 crop season. You see, they call it a season.
Yeah.
Because it's a crop and it grows over a year.
Okay.
And then it's plucked
a year in 12 calendar months?
Yes, 12
of the same calendar year, or it travels to the next year?
It travels to the next year.
So starting from when?
Starting from August or September.
That's when they are planting?
No, the trees are already there.
Okay.
That's when they would have started buying. So the season open August or September.
Okay.
And Cocoa Board will bring the new price.
Okay.
And they'll start buying. But then from January to September, they are always plucking the fruits and preparing it, processing it for
Okay, so
sale.
we're ready. So some of the bags are ready in May.
So there are periods that you buy the beans and they are small. That period is called a light crop season. So from February, March, April, May, June, July is a light crop season because the beans are smaller and lighter. And then from September, October, November, December, it's called the main crop season because that's when you get the bigger beans and the heavier beans. The main crop beans are more expensive than the light crop. So in cocoa board, they always say they discount the light crop. And the practice has been that the light crop, part of the light crop is given to the local processors to feed their processing for chocolate.
Okay, that's good explanation. But producer, let's start from here again. It's important. So let's come back to the main question. So you give the farmer, based on the international price of a ton, you then decide as government unilaterally, and you decide you're giving them this for a bag.
Exactly.
All right. So, and you change it every year.
So every year it changes.
All right.
What has happened over the period is in 2016-2017 crop year, the world market price that was achieved was about $3,000. And they were giving the farmer 475 cedis. So MPP took over 2017 January, and it was still 475 cedis. Quite surprisingly, as soon as MPP took over, by March, the prices started coming down. So by the end of 2017, the price had moved from $3,000 to as low as $2,600. By the time you were entering 2018, so what happens is you are giving 475 cedis per bag. The price is at 3,000. It has moved to 2,006. It means they use the 3,000 to price the 475. So already you are making losses on it. And you started paying the farmer 475, so it will be difficult to reduce that price. Now we enter 2018, and the price moves further down to about, the world market price, it moves further down to about $2,200. By the time we are going to middle of 2018, it has gone down to $1,800 per ton. So there was a crisis coming up. That was when the previous administration decided, okay, let's look at measures that we can do to bring the price up. So the immediate solution they were able to bring up was something called the living income differential, which is now called the LID, which Ghana brought it up. Ghana did all the work, and then Cote d'Ivoire also accepted and joined finally. They went to the international market to defend and was eventually accepted and added to the pricing of cocoa. So every
What does that explain that to us?
So every cocoa that you buy, if the world market price is $1,800, the buyer will give you an additional $400 as living income differential, so that in the unlikely event that prices go too low, that $400 will cushion the farmer and cocoa board or the institution. There's a story in Ivory Coast that they say that the former president of Ivory Coast, called Felix Boadu, he had met with some buyers in France when he was president to dictate price to them. They told him, you know what, you do not consume cocoa, we consume the cocoa. So we will not buy the cocoa at your price. And then Boadu told them that one day a son of Africa will come and he will give you a price and you will accept. So when we introduced LID, the president of Ivory Coast invited the then former chief executive of Cocoa Board and gave him the Ivory Coast highest national honors. They honored him in Ivory Coast with the highest honors because he had been able to introduce an LID of $400 to the buyers, and they have accepted it. And now that $400 is being used in pricing to date. So even with the current price that they are buying cocoa at today, the $400 is inclusive. Fast forward, after 2019, when we had introduced the LID of $400, the price came up to about 2006. And that was a break-even point for the Ghana Cocoa Board. So 2019, there was a little price increment. Then we entered into 2020 when COVID had reared its head. And you know, during COVID, airports were shut down, ports were shut down, so there were no shipments of goods and so on. So cocoa prices started falling all over again. By the time we entered into 2021, 2022, that was when, by 2022, that was when prices were coming back up. So it was very difficult to even increase price then. But even then, so that people would not sell their farms to the galamseyers, the small-scale miners and so on, the government had to force and increase the price a little to farmers so that farmers do not sell their farms. And then fast forward, we come to 2023, then we see that there is a climate change, something called an El Nino effect. The geographers will tell you what it is. It causes produce in Ghana, Ivory Coast, Nigeria, or cocoa regions to go down because the effect on the crop was such that the cocoa starts bearing fruits, the fruit starts growing big, and then it just falls. And sometimes the flowers on the fruits will not even bear fruits, they will just fall off the tree. So Ivory Coast, who was producing about 2.2 to 2.3 million tons, dropped to 1.6 million tons. Ivory Coast lost about 600,000 tons due to climate change. Ghana, we were producing, you remember 2020, 2021, we had produced 1 million tons. Mm-hmm. So Ghana, because of the climate change, the mining, small-scale mining and galamsey effects and smuggling effects and so on, Ghana had dropped from the 1 million tons, we had dropped gradually to about 700 to 600,000 metric tons. Now, what happened is we entered into 2023 and all these countries had dropped in production. Ghana kept dropping, Ivory Coast kept dropping. So, you know, demand and supply. When demand goes down, prices increase. When supply of products go down, then prices will increase. And then there was higher demand for the produce, and there were no supply. So what happened was prices started shooting up. When the prices started shooting up, cocoa pricing is such that every day the price changes because it's a commodity. And in commodity trading, you don't get static prices. The prices are not the same every day. They change every day. So if price was $8,000 yesterday, today it can move to $8,200 or $7,000, depending on speculations and other factors. Now, there was a single day that price moved to about $10,000. And then our opponents then ran to the market. Today, I believe we have to have a thoughtful and productive conversation on these issues. Our opponents on the other side ran to the public that cocoa prices have reached $10,000. So based on that, they have done their calculations. We should give the farmer not less than 6,000 cedis. And the point is not less than.
This was in 2024?
Yes, when we had entered 2024.
Mm-hmm. By that time, you had given the farmer 3,100. We
had given the farmer, we had come from 475 to about 900 to about 1,007 to 2,001 to 3,000.
Okay, producer, take it from here again. So you gave the farmer 3,100 in 2024.
Yes.
All right. Then what?
And they came to the public that we should give the farmer not less than 6,000 cedis.
As a result of the global.
As a result of the global price. Then the management explained that price was just a single day's price.
A single day?
Yes, that is shot up to 10,000. And that within some 2 or 3 days, it has come down to about 8,000 and sometimes 7,000. And there's also something about trading. Even I've listened to the chief executive of Ghana Cocoa Board today, Randy Abbey, on Asempa FM, where he said that the buyer is also rational. So even if the price reached $10,000, the buyer will not go and buy. He also waits and see that prices will fall before he goes to purchase the product. So it is not accurate that once you have reached 10,000, you are definitely going to get it at 10,000. You may not. So what they do is they put all the days they have bought cocoa together and they average it. And that is what is called the achieved pricing. Mm-hmm. So in 2024, the achieved pricing for the year was about $4,850.
Mm-hmm. And 4,000?
Yes. And out of that $4,850, they gave the farmers about $3,100 in metric ton. If you translate it, or if you change it to cedis, then or bags, then you are giving the farmer 3,100.
So this is what you gave the farmer, and NDC were of the view that this is too low. You should be giving the farmer 6,000.
Yes.
And they promised they'll give the farmer 6,000.
They promised they'll give the
Atofoso's
farmer
video.
6,000. And quite interestingly, during the time, what surprised me was the fact that Honorable Atofoso had been a board member of Cocoa Board before. So it's not like he was naive of the issues of Cocoa Board. He understood the pricing mechanism, that they had a producer price committee that sits down to do the pricing, and they factor all the buyer's margin, the haulier's margin, the warehousing, and all these factors into it. He was also aware that they do forward sales, and based on those forward sales, they will use their achieved pricing to do their calculation and give the farmer a percentage. Now, in that same year, if you subtract in dollar terms the amount in Tony that they gave to the farmer and the achieved price, you realize that there was an amount of $1,700 left for administrative costs and all the other factors, including paying off even some of the debts that Cocoa Board was owing, because Cocoa Board had debt with liabilities with Bank of Ghana, the cocoa bills and so on that they had to pay. So the $1,750 was the amount that was reserved for administrative costs and all these other factors. Today, the achieved pricing for Cocoa Board is about $7,200. And out of that, they are giving the farmer 70%. And that is what they are proudly going about saying, that they've done well because they've given 70%.
No, let's compare to the 3,100. So MPP was giving 3,100 2024. NDC is giving more, isn't it?
They are giving more because they are getting more.
How much are they giving?
They are getting $7,200 and they are giving $5,040.
I thought they are giving you. I heard on Asempa when you were there that they're giving 3,100 and something.
So the $5,040 is in dollar term. When you go to cedis, they are giving the farmer 3,228 cedis per bag, which is 128 cedis increase.
Okay, so they've increased by 128 cedis
but
upon what the MPP
Paul,
was doing.
What is the value of 128 cedis today? Today, if the same 128 cedis you want to buy a bag of cement, or the same 3,228 cedis you want to buy a bag of cement, today a bag of cement is about 120 cedis.
How much was it in 2024?
2024 it was about 90 cedis.
Are you sure cement prices haven't gone down?
No.
But we hear that prices have gone down everywhere.
No. Today, just today, I learned that public transporters are increasing public transport fares.
Well, that's being debated. GPRTU says no.
Yes.
So
they want to increase the fares not because of fuel, but because of spare parts. Because they believe that spare parts are not going down. And there are a lot of factors. Anybody who's gone to the market, you realize that there are a lot of factors that are not going down.
So what the farmers are complaining about is that NDC promised them 6,000, which they were looking forward to.
Which they were looking forward to.
And they are now getting 3,000.
And they are getting 3,220, just 128 cedis increment, which is 4.2% increase.
What is the international price of a ton, and how many bags is a ton? You said 16.
16 bags.
Okay, what's the international price of a ton?
Today, on the market, if it's spot, you might get it around $8,000.
A ton?
A ton, $8,000 or more. And their achieved price is about $7,200. But the interesting thing is, here's where the meat is. Paul, you are giving the farmer $5,040 per ton, and you are achieving $2,200 per ton, $7,200 per ton, which means there's a difference of about $2,200 for administrative costs.
So government is keeping $2,200.
Exactly.
Yeah, and what's wrong with that?
Just last year, government was keeping just $1,700.
$1,700 of what you were getting.
Exactly.
But NDC is keeping $2,200. But you said they are getting more.
So why don't you give the farmer more based on that promise that you made to the farmer? Instead of keeping $2,200,
I get your point.
Even
so
keep,
if they
even
get the
keep,
farmer $6,000,
even keep $1,900 or keep $2,000 and add the extra $2,000 to the farmer. Extra $200, add it to the farmer.
So the communication this morning that the NDC have done something good with cocoa and the farmers are getting more, is it untrue?
From where I sit, I'm equally disappointed like the farmer. Because based on the promises they made, and based on what they are raking in now, I appreciate the fact that the city has appreciated. But the point is, when you go down, the value of things are not going down. So the farmer is not really seeing much, because you claim you are giving the farmer free fertilizer. But you all know that the free fertilizer, a lot will not end with the farmer. You claim you are giving the farmer free.
Is it because your free
insecticide?
fertilizer did not end with the farmer, so you know that their free fertilizer will not end with the farmer?
Because there is history in this country that there was a period that they were giving free fertilizer and it was not ending with the farmer. And
Under the
is-
NPP?
Under the NDC.
What happened under the NPP with fertilizer?
So what the NPP did with fertilizer was that we brought something called an incentive. So the farmer takes the fertilizer based on, they have a cooperative, based on the cooperative, and they pay some amount of the cost. They pay some amount of the cost. So let's say the fertilizer is 200 cedis per bag, the farmer will be made to pay about 60 cedis.
Okay.
So it's like there's an incentive provided by the government for you. The idea was to prevent smuggling of the fertilizer. Because in 2016-17, there was a report that was submitted to Cocoa Board that showed that a lot of the fertilizers that were sent to the farms ended up in Burkina Faso and other places.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a business that people were doing. There were reports of arrest that people go and take the free fertilizer, export it to Burkina because they rebag it and so on. So based on that, we had to put in place a mechanism so that the cost of smuggling will become higher. Because if you are going to sell outside and you have to pay 60 cedis or 80 cedis first, it means by the time it gets to our borders, the cost is too high and they can't buy. And that was it. And even with that, I have heard Randy Abbey say that some of the farmers were not paying. So when you look at the collection rates, a lot of them were not paying. Why were they not paying? Because we had politicized it. Whilst government was giving the fertilizer to the farmers at a certain reduced price so that they will not smuggle, people were going around telling the farmers that, you know what, we'll give it to you for free. The moment that message enters the farmer's mind, it makes it difficult for him to pay. And that was one of the key issues. But one solution they brought was the cooperatives. They made the farmers form cooperatives, and the fertilizers were sent directly to the cooperatives. And today I've heard them saying they are still going to maintain the cooperatives. Quite interestingly, our administration, the NPP administration, brought a lot of measures in the cocoa industry, like the LID that I just gave the history. We brought production enhancement programs like pruning, pollination, and so on. We also brought the cooperative programs that they started. We started the early spraying and so on. There are a lot of them that I can go on and on. There's an IMF report, Paul, for July, which the IMF states in their report that on page 18 of the July IMF report on cocoa sector, the IMF says that production during the 2024-2025 season had recovered thanks to a more favorable climate and ongoing interventions to enhance productivity. So even the IMF admits that climate had become favorable in 2024-2025. Now, that is why production has turned around. And also the production enhancement programs, and IMF puts into bracket, example, artificial pollination, which was introduced by the NPP, it never existed. Mass pruning, which was introduced by the NPP, mass spraying and high-tech, which was introduced under President Kufuor. International cocoa prices have remained high. Cocoa Board is thus expected to honor the contracts rolled over. So IMF says that Cocoa Board is expected to roll over their contract because production now seems positive from the previous year, and those that originated in the current season, except for a small share already agreed on by buyers. So they've already agreed on by buyers that some will be, some of the rollovers will be paid this year, and the rest will go into other years. The IMF also says the new financial model, which reduces reliance on syndicated loans in favor of other trade financing options, appears to have reduced liquidity constraints, delivering faster payments to the farmers. And the IMF ends, Cocoa Board's cash flow is expected to remain balanced during the current season. Paul, what the IMF was trying to say is that the NPP government introduced a new financial model. You know, for 32 years, Cocoa Board was going for syndicated loan. We were going to borrow.
Yes.
So the former chief executive, quite interestingly, whenever we go to borrow, they give us an award for being one of the best borrowers.
I see.
Yeah. Very sad. It's sad. when he tells you the story, you shed tears. After we've gone for the syndicated loan, 1.8 we are celebrating in Ghana, they come to present an award to the management of Cocoa Board that you are one of our best borrowers. So this is your
Keep
award.
borrowing.
Keep borrowing. So he kept thinking that how can we stop this borrowing? Because the borrowing also comes at a cost. There's a financing cost to it. So over the period, he kept thinking how we were going to stop borrowing, and they tried to develop concepts on how we stop borrowing. Quite fortunately or unfortunately, by the time we got to 2024, after COVID, financing became difficult. Interest rates across the world changed and so on. So getting access to financing was quite difficult. Going for syndication sometimes becomes a challenge. So in 2023, they went for syndication, but the interest rates they were getting were quite too high. Then 2024 February, they sent RFPs to the banks. The banks responded, and the interest rates were still high. By then, he had sat with his team and been able to develop a new financial model, because they realized when they go for syndication, the syndicated loan comes around November, December. That's the first tranche. It comes around November, December. So anybody who has been monitoring Cocoa Board, by December, they will say the cocoa syndicated loans have come in, getting to Christmas, and it pushes the CD down a bit. So he realized between August or September, when the season opens, to December, the LBCs buy the cocoa and present it to Cocoa Board on their own, without money. And then when the syndicated money comes, they pay the LBCs. So he asked himself, why then do we have to go and borrow and the money will come in December? Why don't you let the LBCs bring us the cocoa, and then when the cocoa comes, we ship it and let the buyer pay directly to us?
So no loan.
Rather than the buyer going through a bank before the money comes to us as a loan. So that is the new financial model, which started working last year and is still working today.
Because I heard that the syndication was not possible because there's a bankruptcy issue.
No, they sent RFPs, the banks responded, but the interest rates were not favorable. So you quite remember.
For 2025?
For 2024,
they tried the syndicated loan.
They tried the syndicated loan. It didn't fail. There was response, but then the chief executive, the former chief executive, had sat down with his team and analyzed the new financial model and realized it will work. So if you remember quite clearly, the then Minister for Finance had even come out to say that Cocoa Board will go for the syndication.
That is current Minister for Finance?
No, the then Minister for Finance, Honorable Amin.
Amin Anta, yes.
Amin Anta.
Yeah,
and the then Minister for Agric, Honorable Brian Champon. Yeah. They had come out to say Cocoa Board will go for the syndication. Even when Cocoa Board had come out to say they won't go for the syndication, because the ministers were privy to information that RFPs had come, but Cocoa Board felt they will save money based on their financial situation. They will save money if they don't go for the situation. They will be able to turn it around. So after a lot of consultations were done, the government decided, okay, let's try the Cocoa Board new model and see if it will work.
This is the old government?
Yes. And they did it and it worked. And today this government is using that same model. I've heard the minister and the new chief executive say that, I know they are playing politics with it. They are saying, we are trying it. We are also looking at alternatives in case it doesn't work. But so far, if they had plans to go for syndication, RFPs would have been sent in February. As it stands now, I've not heard whether they've sent any RFPs to the banks. And this period,
RFPs, request for proposal.
Request for proposal. This period is even too late for them to go for syndication.
So it means they are using the old model?
They are still using the old model. And the interesting aspect is today, prices of cocoa are so high. It's about 7,000 on the market. So if you even want to go to syndication, you are looking at borrowing about $4 billion.
Okay, so the bottom line of the
interest rate will be about $400 million.
The bottom line of the conversation is that you are saying that the farmers are not unhappy, artificially unhappy. It's not being MPP created. Farmers were expecting 6,000 as was promised to them. The price of the international price for the ton is favorable. They were expecting that the NDC government will give them the 6,000 that was promised or something close to that.
Exactly.
However, the announcement of the NDC's cocoa season brings the NDC price to 3,228.
Exactly.
Off from 3,100 of the old administration.
Exactly.
So the disappointment is in the massive shortfall of the expectation, given the political promise and also the international price.
Exactly.
You also say that the the price that the money that government keeps per ton. During the NDC MPP time, government was keeping 1,750 per ton.
Yeah.
Now, government wants to keep 2,000. Is it 250?
$2,200.
$2,200 for administrative purposes.
Yeah.
The same thing that 1,700 was being used for, they are now using $2,200 to do the same thing. Is it really the same or something has changed? The administrative.
Unless they come out to explain what they are using it for. As I sit here, I don't know what they are using it for.
Wow.
Unless they come out to explain.
So is it MPP telling the farmers, giving them this analysis and infuriating the farmers?
No, the farmers, I would even go and explain this to the farmers because a lot of the farmers may not even understand some of these things. What the farmer is looking out for is that he has invested in the farm. Maybe government gave him some fertilizer, government came to spray for him, but it wouldn't be enough. So he bought extra fertilizer. He paid for labor. And today, one issue is getting access to labor in the farms. So people even bring people from Ivory Coast, Togo, Burkina to come and work in their farms. So he's paid for labor. Even the transportation cost of the laborers to come to the farm is very expensive. He's invested so much. He expects to get equal measure or more. And he's basing all the expectations on prices you have sold in his mind. The farmer today will not be worried if you had been truthful to him, then that, okay, you know what, MPP has done 3-1 for you. When we come, we will do better based on what is on the market. But you went out specifically to campaign on a 6,000 minimum price. Were you being disingenuous?
Okay, let me take some text messages and then we have to be wrapping up. It's 5 minutes past the top of that, 11. So let me see what people are saying about the cocoa conversation. I begin with Fatih. All right.
Thank you, Paul. So Emmanuel Nana Boateng says, going by NDC's own analysis on cocoa pricing based on the current exchange rates, as they put, they haven't been truthful to the cocoa farmers. At least the cocoa farmers should be paid the said amount. They are going by the BOG current exchange rate, which has been like that for more than a month now. You promised to pay them 6,000 cedis. If you can't pay that amount, please try and pay them the needed amount due them. This is pure thievery. Schiffman says, I've enjoyed the explanation from Honorable Mike on this cocoa issue. Frankly, everything points to the fact that John Mahama's government is just a scam, and the cocoa farmers would not fall for any serpentine promises again next time. Say no to scam politicians. Yalferi says all the anger coming from the cocoa farmers is the cause of the NDC's government in opposition after telling them and Ghanaians to vote against the NPP for not giving them not less than 6,000 Ghana cedis per a bag of cocoa. The NDC government are saying they have given the farmers 70% of the FOB value. Government quoting appreciation of the Ghana cedis to the US dollar and deflation for backing their reason for this 4.1 increase in price do not match the high cost of living of cocoa farmers. Therefore, cocoa farmers and minority members are right for telling the government that they lied to Ghanaians about the cocoa price increment for winning their votes into power. A lot of people are praising Honorable Mike, Richard Omanisi's fantastic communication, Theodore Akwesisi's great submission from the MP, and lastly coming from Dashtin Koni says, this man, we all know he's not an NPP man, he's called Osiani. What do you have for us?
All right, thank you, Fatih.
So, dit Mensa Amir Ibrahim, il dit Paul, nous remercions pour votre vie. Ensuite, on a Abdul Majid King Ko, l'apôtre Paul. J'arrive pas à vous regarder, vous êtes vraiment un sur 1 million. Enfin, on a Nana Kwame Luka qui dit que Dieu nous bénisse, notre pays, le Ghana. Over to you, Ansaba.
Okay, from Sami Ewa, he says, NDC has said on Joy News on Ivan Mensah's program just now that they are not going for the syndicated loan. Gifty says, well done, Honorable. From Cornelius, it says, Apostle Paul, please play the cocoa farmers video again. And lastly, from Francis Boahin, he says, fellow Ghanaian politicians, review and adjust arrest protocols to ensure they are used fairly and effectively. Ghanaians need clear guidelines for arrest procedures to prevent wrongful and unnecessary detentions. Over to you, Paul.
What's your last word, Honorable Adu, and then we can be wrapping up?
Paul, I feel the government should apologize to the farmers. They should, because today what's happening, the anger brewing is not because the farmers deliberately want to be angry, but it's based on promises that have not been fulfilled. And if the government will be true to themselves, I think accepting that the message they put out there in 2024 was wrong, it was quite dishonest, and the fact that they should be open to the farmers and tell them, you know what, we didn't tell you the truth, and that this is the real situation. That will even calm nerves than trying to use other issues to justify the reason for not increasing the cocoa price. But I believe we've gotten to a point in this country where people are looking at politicians and our actions are being observed. Some of the things we are saying are being put on record. And when we have the platform, we should be able to speak to the truth. Today, the words of the NDC, the current government, the words that they used in 2024 has come back to haunt them. And it's quite scary the way it's haunting them, because it's not just cocoa, even gold. Some of the things they said to the gold miners, Paul, today if you go down there, the issues with gold is even worse than cocoa. But cocoa issues are now coming, so we are waiting to see how far it will go. I sympathize with Randy Abbey in a way, because today he sits in the hot seat. Some of the words that were spoken were not his words, but his ministers of finance and trade, they use those words, and today it's haunting them. And I hope they will live up to those words and be open to Ghanaians and candid to Ghanaians and come out truthfully and say, okay, we admit we were wrong. That is what I think will ease the pain of the farmer today.
Yeah, ye name ye nyame no ye besom no dada. One a wonim wonya wan som na nye hwe na. Yeah, ye name ye nyame de ye besom no dada. Say friend is saying friend Jesus Christ. To me nyina hye ne nsa. Any ye name ye nyame. Those of us who are aware of our Lord will worship him. Those who are not aware of the powers of our Lord, they may decide not to worship him. Those of us who know the power of our Lord will worship him. One last song, and then we have to do a Ghana song, because you know we are in Accra and it's homo season. We have to do a Ghana song. But just before that, I'd like us to do this song, another tree song. Unfortunately, another tree song. Next time we'll do a West song set. We'll institute this like once a month or once in every 2 months. We can do something like that. Isn't that good? Okay. So the last one is Una wo freyen sayem rameye wejuma. Una wo freyen. Let's take it up.
Una wo freyen sayem rameye wejuma. Una wo freyen sayem rameye wejuma. Una wo freyen sayem rameye wejuma. Yabo yabo yabo. Uma wo freyen sayem rameye wejuma. Una wo freyen sayem rameye wejuma. Una wo freyen sayem rameye wejuma. Yabo yabo yabo. Bira Yeswe, mami shema. 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 Bira Yeswe, mami shema.
Okay, let's do one last Ghana song. We are in Accra, isn't it? And it's a beautiful month of August, and that means the season of Homo War. So let's do a Ghana song. There's one Ghana song that I really like. I don't know how to sing all of it, but I'm sure the choir will be able to do it. When Male, Amanu. Take it about.